All right. Well, good morning and welcome back to the Weight Escape. I am super excited today because I have somebody that I know personally. Leslie, I met in the Todd Durkin Mastermind, and she's been a wonderful gift in my life. I'm going to let her introduce herself a little bit, but as you'll see, I'm sure through the interview, she's just got these ways of saying the right thing at the right time. One of my favorite quotes Leslie's ever said to me is, things are not happening to you, they're happening for you. And I can't tell you like how many times over the last, I think we've known each other 3 years now, but that has popped in my head. I'm like, remember, Leslie said this is not happening to you. It's happening for you. And even when things have felt like ridiculously challenging, it's like that reminder of, okay, maybe there is something positive here. Maybe there's something that I need to learn here and it wouldn't happen otherwise. So Leslie's been a huge gift in my life, and I'm super excited to have her on because we don't get to talk to each other that much. So it's kind of like a good excuse to jump in and have her. So welcome, Leslie. I would love it if you could tell us a little bit about yourself because you have a phenomenal background and you kind of got a couple things going on, and they're fun and they're exciting and they're totally you.
Yay. Well, thank you, Jen, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I just love doing these things to, help people and share our journeys and connect with one another. I think that's why we're here, is to help one another and to know that we're not alone on this journey. And whatever you're going through, somebody else has probably had some experience with it. And if we share, we can get through it together. So thank you. Thank you for having me. So I was a young kid growing up, just, loving life, exploring, enjoying it, playing sports. I was active. And then I went through a period of from, I would say, junior high to, I don't know, when I was 30, struggling with confidence in myself and, trying to figure that out. And, but I would escape through sports or through bad habits of eating or drinking or certain things, and just trying to find some outside source to make me feel happy. So it's been a journey of that and going back to self-discovery. In terms of profession, I have been a strength and conditioning coach at many colleges: Loyola Marymount, Notre Dame, University of Southern California, helping with many different sports. I was part of a national championship team with the football in 2004, 2005. And then from there, I just went and did my own thing of training athletes. Currently, I'm a strength conditioning coach for 3 local high school basketball teams. And I'm a professor at a community college. I teach health and kinesiology. I've been full-time there for 11 years now. And I'm a mom and a wife, and we have 3 kids here. And I run my own podcast called the Developing Athlete Podcast, and it's trying to create a better environment for our youth through sports and bringing awareness to people. And I do my online coaching now. Because of COVID, I started an online studio as well. So that's basically profession-wise who I am and what I do. Oh, and we wrote a book called Dear Her,
Right.
which was letters to teenage girls and young ladies about lessons learned through education, athletics, and life.
Right. I love that connection that you have with youth because I wish personally that I had a good mentor or somebody through my youth. And it's like, I get these opportunities now as an adult, especially because I get to choose them. But I love the fact that you're trying to reach these youth because I think that's something that's so underserved and so needed. So we don't have all of us in our 30s and 40s trying to go back and get it. But tell us a little bit about why youth? Why did that spark for you?
I think because my youth for me was one of the biggest struggles in my life, like figuring out who I was and, like I said, self-esteem with myself. I started, gaining weight in 3rd grade. I started noticing I was, bigger than all my other classmates and started judging that as wrong and being jealous and resentful that I wasn't the skinny little girl like everybody else. And then, having glasses, having to get braces, I had a really bad overbite. And so I had to get braces and I had to do these herps things. There was a pole that was connected the back and the front. And so when I bit, it would bring my jaw forward. And so I did a lot of mouth work and then And I was judging all that as like, I'm not good enough, and so struggling with that. My parents, were going through a divorce and separated. And so dealing with that in my head as a kid, like it was, it's fine. It's between them and they still love me and we have a great relationship. They have a great relationship today. Like people are like, they're divorced. I'm like, yeah, they are. But that's a rough time growing up for figuring all that out. And then sports was my outlet and I loved it, but it was also very challenging. I didn't have positive coaches during that time. I had some negative ones, which again, life's happening to you, for you, not to you, right? So it was actually inspiring me for the rest of my journey to remind myself that I don't want to be a coach like that. I want to be a positive influence on people's lives. So looking at that formative time, I wanted to be able to give back to the youth, something that I feel like I didn't have per se. I didn't have the tools to deal with. And then also, we have a mastermind, we had coaching, we had, I found mentors and people that have helped me in my life probably from 28 on, right? So then you see this amazing thing when community comes together and when you get coaching and when you get support and how it helps people deal with all their youth stuff, right? And I'm like, well, why are we waiting? Why are we waiting to have these breakdowns? Like, why can't we start earlier? So I just wanted to try and help provide solutions and tools for youth to believe in themselves and to have the confidence to get through any struggle that they're going to have, because they're going to have them. Like I tell them, life ain't easy and you're going to have these things, but how can we get through them together?
I love that, because I'm sure that there's lots of people listening that actually, either had something happen in their youth that deterred them, or had that nasty coach and quit because of it, or, gave up because of it. And now they're in their late 20s or their 30s or their 40s, or maybe even beyond 50s, 60s, wanting to get back to something, but being so afraid of what happened in their youth that they haven't started.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, like with your journey, you said you got mentoring, you got coaching a little later in life. What would you say to somebody that, had that experience as a youth or maybe in their early 20s and that's deterred them from starting?
I would say I'm sorry you had that experience, but that doesn't have to be your only experience. You can create new ones. You find a good coach, find a good mentor, find a good support group, find a team of people that can help you. I truly believe that we can do this journey by ourselves, and trying to figure it out or find it out or all by ourselves is, I think, impossible. Like, it's a struggle. It's really hard. Like, you can do it, but why do you want to struggle that hard? Like, create new experiences, find new relationships, empower yourself by surrounding yourself with people that believe in you, people that are going to help you, people that are going to encourage you. That's what we need, because the journey by itself is tough, and then the journey when you have a negative environment around you is even tougher. So find people that are going to support you and do that. And it is scary. Like, our brain is based for survival first, performance second.
Right.
So your brain's going to try and protect yourself. So if you've had a bad experience, your brain goes, oh no, I tried that and I didn't like it and it didn't work for me. So let's not go there. Right? Or all coaches are like this. So these ideas that we have. Or I suck. I don't have good hand-eye coordination. I don't have good foot-eye coordination. I'm not athletic, right? No, that's not the problem. The problem is that you've never learned how. You never had a coach that taught you. Maybe you had a vision issue and you need to work on vision. That's why you don't have good hand-eye coordination. You never learned that skill, right? Maybe you have some vestibular stuff going on and that's why your balance wasn't there. Like, has anyone worked with you on that? Right? Or maybe you don't have good coordination because nobody taught you how to move. So let's work on those things that are preventing us from being our best self, right? So look at, why are you holding back? What are you afraid of? And I think that fear is our friend. Fear is there to help us out. So we go, okay, what am I afraid of? What's holding me back? And fear looks different, right? Fear is excuses. Mm-hmm. Fear is rationalizations, justifications, procrastination, finding other things to do, not doing it at all. That's fear, right? That's fear. So understand, okay, what am I afraid of? Why am I afraid? And then what can I do to walk through this fear? Because it's going to be there. It's not like you're going to make a decision and go like, okay, I'm going to start now. Like you're going to be scared and you're going to be in your head and you're going to say, I can't do this and this is hard. But how do you show up anyway? And how do you walk through that? Right? That's what I would say is just, you know what? You had this experience. It doesn't have to be your only one. Let's create a new one. You're going to be afraid, but I'm here for you. And you find a team, find somebody to help you through it. And it's going to be uncomfortable at the beginning, but that's what life's about. It's about growth. And you're not going to do it perfectly right away, especially if you've never learned it. So enjoy the journey, make those mistakes, fail, and have fun.
I love how you put that, because I think, especially when you made the comment, oh, but I'm not athletic. But it's something that maybe you just haven't learned. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's crucial, because I think as humans, like you said, with the way our brain works, we tend to take those things on as an identity.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of, maybe it's the behavior that is a challenge, or maybe it's the task that's a challenge, or maybe it's the act that's a challenge. It's just, oh, I'm not, or I can't, or I am bad, or I'm not good enough. And
Right.
it's like this global identity when, like you're saying, is such a great point, is maybe no one's just taught you. Maybe you actually have all of this, but if you haven't had the chance to have somebody, like you say, is it vestibular? Is it a vision issue? Is it a coordination issue? But there's ways to work on it. So it's
Right.
taking that on that as an identity. It's something actually completely different.
Right. And have you put in the time to get better at it? Right? Respect the reps is my thing. You have to respect the reps. You have to put in the work. Like I do that. I'm not flexible. I was not born this way. Like my daughter goes to gymnastics, all the little girls are lying down flat. She's still up there. I'm like, sorry, that's our genetics, girl. But like, did I work on it? Like I could get a little better, but no, it's easier to just go like, eh, I'm not good at that. So I'm going to do what I'm good at. I'm going to do where I do excel instead of challenging myself and say, well, let's put in some time like in that area and let's practice and practice and practice and see how I improve.
Yeah, I think that's important. And
Mm-hmm.
we tend to, oh, it's like you say, fear. Oh, it's uncomfortable. Oh, I'm not good at it. I'm going to define myself. So I'm not actually going to put any time there. I'm just going to let it go and just decide that's not for me.
Yeah. So, that book Mindset by Carol Dweck, if you guys, I'm sure heard about it, growth mindset and grit kind of go together. They're two good ones. But when I first read growth mindset, I was like, oh yeah, I have a growth mindset. Like I'm into growth and I try new challenges but then I realized that I have a growth mindset when I want to, or when I'm good at something, like then I'll do it. But like I have a very fixed mindset to other stuff to protect myself, to make myself look good. Because I want you to think I got it together, right? I want you to think that I'm great at everything. And so if I know I'm not, then I'm not going to show you because I don't want you to judge me as not being good enough. Right. So I had to like go, wow, I have a fixed mindset in a lot of things. Right. I have to work on that personally on those things where I don't want to do it. I have to go, why? Like, why don't you want to do it? Okay, well, what is that underlying? Well, just try it. Just try it and don't think about your head. Just try it and go, right? And then it gets easier as you do it. But yeah, your brain's gonna tell you don't do it. We don't belong here.
Yeah. And I love that you said that, because I think we all get caught in what's comfortable.
Mhm.
And I think it's a human nature to get scared of judgment. Like you say, it's that fear piece, right? We're afraid people are going to judge us. And we make something like this, something like this, and then we never do it.
Yep.
We never address it, or we never, have the guts to say, oh, well, yeah, of course I have a growth mindset. I love personal growth. I love this. I love this. Oh, but here,
Yeah.
I like it where it's comfortable.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And I think we all get stuck like that. I think we all get stuck in, sometimes we want things to be different, whether it is weight loss, whether it is being healthier, but it seems like such a big thing. And we're so afraid of being judged that we just don't ever start.
Right. And that's important that we don't think about the end result
Mm.
of like what we want. Like you can have a vision and you can see it and it could be there, but you got to think more about the process of the steps of what do I need to to do that? Like, what are the steps? And let me just start with the step, right? Just that one thing. Because if I start one step, then that's not as fearful of thinking of everything that I have to do, right? So whether that be weight loss, like you're like, okay, well then I can't eat this, I have to eat this, I need to drink this much water, I gotta exercise this much, I gotta sleep, that's way too overwhelming, And you go, okay, well, can you eat one less Oreo today or something, whatever, right? You just gotta change it up. Or can you walk for 10 minutes? Mm-hmm. Like, I have this, on my Respect the Reps online training studio, I have women that I'm helping with exercise and nutrition, and they're busy, especially right now with COVID and kids and everything. But they have online videos, and I was asking this one lady, I was like, did you get to do the video today? So no, today I was swamped. I couldn't, I'll do it tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, just remember, you don't have to do the whole video.
Right.
Like in between your meetings, press play for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And then just go back to your meeting. Like, it doesn't have to be everything. And I think that's what people have to decide. Like, when I'm going to make a change in my life, I'm going to change everything. And you're like, no, just do one little shift. Because if you do one little shift and you keep going, you're going to be in a whole different place, months from now or years from now. So just start with one little thing and don't overwhelm your brain with everything. Or you know what? It won't ever happen. So just do little things and be kind to yourself on that journey and celebrate that one journey. Like, I worked out for 10 minutes today. That's great. That's great. Inertia is one of the hardest things to do, overcome. Like, not moving and then moving is one of the hardest things. Not doing something and then doing it, one of the hardest things. So just do a little bit and reward yourself, because you did it, and then next time do a little bit more.
So for all of those people out there, I'm going to call it, whether it's perfectionists, whether it's all or nothing thinkers, do you think then that this idea that we have to change everything becomes a fear piece so that we have a reason not to even try because it's too much?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the overwhelm. It's the confusion. Like, where do I even start? Or I don't have time to do all of that. So I'm just going to stay where I'm comfortable, what I know. And even if misery is comfortable for me, I'm comfortable there. I know it. It's, and to do the other stuff is a shift on your nervous system. So you just have to be aware of it. Like, your body's going to fight your new routine because it's something it's not used to. But once you get, once you train, you just train your brain. And once you train it and you just show up, you do it, then it becomes less difficult, right? There's another good book. It's called Willpower. I forget who wrote it. He's a PhD guy in Florida, but it talks about self-control, taking and doing willpower. It takes a lot of brain energy and takes a lot of stuff. There's habits that you have that you do that don't take a lot of brain energy because you've already done them for so long. So you don't think about it. So like if you're used to working out all the time, it's just something you do, it doesn't take a lot of brain space. But if you haven't done it, all of a sudden to start to do it, it's going to take up a lot of brain space. So it's going to drain you to even just think of doing that, right? And then if you have a lot of other things that your brain is thinking of that day that requires self-control or willpower, then every time you make a decision it's going to lower your willpower or lower your self-control to do it next. So you have to be aware of those things. And so I do think if you can exercise first thing in the morning, because as you go later on in the day, you're going to have less self-control and less willpower because your brain's going to be fatigued from all the decisions you have to make throughout the day, right? But if you've trained yourself to work out at a certain time at night or whatever, it's not going to take as much because you've already trained yourself that way. But just being aware of, making decisions and making behaviors that you haven't will require more energy from you at the beginning until it becomes a part of you.
I like that you say that because I think it takes the judgment off, because we all have, our brains all kind of work. Yes, we're unique, but our brains all kind of have that struggle. And it's like you say, if we try to focus on everything, that is so much thought process that it's like we literally short circuit. It's too much.
Yeah.
So like you say, if there's something that you want to change, I love that idea of try to do that earliest on the day as possible, because, that's when your brain's at its sharpest, most rested. You can actually put the energy in before, your kid falls down and gets hurt, or, a work meeting comes up, or, someone calls and needs something. It's almost that, I'm going to take the best part of me and develop this one habit and focus
Yeah.
energy on that one piece, so it's not so big. And it's
Yeah.
so, when we talk about the brain, it's like, well, that's how the brain works. So it's not a personal issue. It's
Right.
something is wrong with me because I can't do it. It's just, no, this is how I have to train my brain to get to where I want.
Right. And it's how you've constructed your day to help a little bit more success with you. You've helped yourself. It reminds me of two things. I never read this book, but I heard the concept was Eat That Frog by Brian
I read
Tracy.
it.
Okay, you read it, right? So it talks about doing the most important thing
Yes.
first thing in the morning, right? Eat the thing that's going to shift the needle for you, that's going to move you. And then I also had another mentor help me, and she called it was the Daily Six. So you wrote down the 6 most important things you have to do that day, right? And the ones that are like harder for you to do, they're the ones like you don't have to say like I have to eat or I have to go to the bathroom, like stuff like that. But things that will shift your life, that will help you move. You do those things, and you write them down. So that you're not thinking about it in your head, like, oh, I have to return these emails, and then I have to do this project, and then I have to get the kids, and then I have to, you're not thinking about it in your head. You write it down on paper, and then you just focus on number 1. Don't think about 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 until you do number 1, right? And that's going to look differently for some people. Like working out is just part of my life now that I do first thing in the morning, so I don't have to put that on paper. It's part of my routine. But if I hadn't been doing it and it required more energy, I would put work out. That's the most important thing I do today. If nothing else gets done, that's the most important thing, right? So you write number 1. Once that's done, cross it out. Then you go to 2. Because if not, you're in your head all the time, and it's wasting energy, which is going to waste your self-control and willpower.
I love that. I love that. And I mean, hopefully this is a smooth segue, but I can't help but think that this is all part of when you, with your podcast, the developing athlete. I love the wording of that. And I'd love it if you could speak on that a little bit about what that means to you, because I think we're all developing in our own ways, and so what your intention was, or what that means to you, why you chose that.
Yeah, because I don't think the journey ever ends. I think it's a journey, and I do believe everyone is an athlete. They just might not know it yet, right? And so understanding that, and I do believe that life is the biggest sport. So if you're a human and you're living, you're an athlete and you're playing the sport of life. Right. So prepare yourself to be the best competitor that you can, because there's going to, be that way. So the developing athlete, basically I interview people on their journeys just to try and find out, like, how did you get here? What worked for you? What didn't? What were some of your struggles? So that people could listen and go, oh, I never thought of that. I'm going to try that. Or, oh, I felt like that too. Or that happened to you too, and so success leaves clues. So looking at their journey and find what can I take from that, right? And then also to realize that we're not alone and this is a journey. And it's cool to interview people on their journey, because a lot of times you forget how much you've grown. You forget where you came from, right? We're struggling and we're focusing on right now. Like, I'm in this and I can't do this. But you think about, 10 years ago I was there and I'm not there anymore, So it's cool to see that we're all on a journey of growth, and it doesn't just end. Like, you're not just like, okay, I'm gonna work out and then I'm done, right? Like I tell my students, I'm like, who brushed their teeth first thing in the morning? And hopefully everyone raises their hand, right? So I'm like, okay, you have that habit down. Yeah. So do you just stop? So you're like, oh, I got it. I don't need to do it anymore. Like, no, you keep doing it because it's part of your journey of taking care of yourself, right? So developing as an athlete never ends. It's always figuring out, how can we continue to take care of ourselves? How can we continue to grow? and how can we continue to be our best self in this competition of life?
I think that's why it speaks to me so much. And even just hearing you kind of describe it, because it's not just any one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like your focus might be different than my focus right now, right?
Right.
Like you say, your habit right now, your workouts are down. You know, for the listeners that don't know me as well, like I'm training for, unfortunately, it's not happening this year, but an Ironman.
Yeah.
And I've had to adjust, and I have to develop the new routine and develop the new patterns and develop the different nutrition and develop rest in a different way, because what I'm going to do is a shift.
Mm-hmm. A
And
big shift. That's tough.
but I think we all face that, you know, and I think sometimes we think that, oh, you know, we see things on TV, whether it's been a weight loss program where it's extreme and it happens really fast, and all they show is certain pieces. But we're actually developing all parts of ourselves. And yes, some things might require a little bit more energy and some things might require a bit more of our time right now. But
Yeah.
maybe 6 months, this piece is in place. So now I'm going to sort of work on this piece a little bit more.
Exactly. Yep. It's all a journey of figuring out how can we develop, right? So what do we need to work on? How can we grow? But also what's holding us back? What do we need to get rid of? And that could be a limiting belief. It could be, negative thoughts. It could be negative friends or family members, a job. Like, what is holding us back, right? It's like there was another book I gave my sister. I forgot about it. It was like The Angel Within, but it was about that Michelangelo or sculpting and taking. You have a big rock, right, and you're chipping away all that's not necessary so that the angel within can be shown, right? So even with our own life, it's like, okay, what's holding me back from being my best self? What do I need to chip away? And a lot of it, I believe personally, a lot of it is limiting beliefs or these disempowering beliefs that we have about ourselves, of not being good enough, not being loved. Our past is who we are, or this is how we always are going to be, or this happened to me, so this, or, a lot of different things.
Well, very familiar. I think we can all relate to at least one of those.
Yeah.
No, it's totally true. So if you were, speaking to our listeners, somebody that's sitting, listening to this going, well, okay, that's nice, but I'm not an athlete. I've never been an athlete. I know I need to get healthier. What the heck would, my first thing, you're talking about limiting beliefs and you're talking about this. What would my first step even be? Because everything seems so overwhelming. I wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah. So if you're, sitting at home and you're like, oh, I'm not an athlete, I'll never be an athlete, I would, again, propose to you, how if you are? How if you are, but you haven't given yourself a chance? So just give yourself a chance. And then what would the next step look like? It would start as go out for a walk. Just go out for a walk. Feel your feet underneath you. Feel your legs moving. Feel what that feels like just to move. And if you can't walk, for other reasons, just find another way to move. Move your arms up and down. Like just close your eyes and be in your body. And just say, this is my body that I'm going to take care of. This is my body that is my tool or my friend or my equipment or whatever to get me through life. So how am I going to develop it, right? How am I going to take care of it? How am I going to work with it to get through life, right? And so for an athlete, for sport, you think of what are the tools you need. Do I need to be fast? Do I need to be explosive? Do I need to be strong? And then how do I get there? Most athletes don't know how to, so they get a coach, right? And they still have athletes that I've trained for so long, they never pay attention to how I train. And they're like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, what do you mean? We trained for 4 years, right? But you got to learn that. So then I would say, after you decide like that you're worthy and that your life matters and you need to take care of yourself, then I would get help. I would find a coach. I would find someone else, because it's overwhelming to do it by yourself. It is, right? But if you have someone say, okay, just do this, like you would say, oh, just go for a walk today, half an hour. That's it. Go for a walk. That's where we'll start. Drink, 10 glasses of water, or 11, or whatever your body is divided in half, whatever your tools are. But let's just start with that. Okay, report on that this week. All right, you get it? All right, good. Well, what you didn't do it, why didn't you do it? Let's figure out why, and let's work on it. Okay, so now we have a new plan and a new strategy, right? Because you're not just going to do perfectly. You're not going to make the decision to start to take care of yourself and it's going to flow perfectly. You're going to have life's going to happen. So then you pay attention. Okay, well, why did that happen, right? But the most important thing, number one, is that you have to want to get better. You have to want to improve. You have to want to grow. And you have to be willing to do the work. That's number one, right? All the tools and how to get there. There's tons of videos. There's tons of books. There's tons of coaches out there. Like, the information's not the issue. The knowing what to do is not the issue. The understanding and knowing that you're worth it and you deserve it and you are of value to yourself is the issue, right? So being willing to commit to yourself, being willing to invest in yourself, invest in coaching, invest in, right? I've spent thousands of dollars investing in myself, and it's life-changing. Like, you can never go wrong investing in yourself. And I understand money's tight for some people, and I understand, especially right now. But then I challenge people to look at, okay, well then how are you spending your money? Because a lot of times it's not on the most important thing, which is yourself.
Right.
Right. And so then look at, well, what are your values? What are your values? Family, career, growth, health. If health and growth is not one of those top values, people aren't going to spend money on it. Because that's not their value. Maybe their value is shopping, or their value is like looking good on the outside, or other things. So we have to look at what's going to make you value yourself. What's it needs to take for you to know that you deserve to be happy and feel good and to thrive, right? It's not a matter of what you look like. It's a matter of how you feel. Right? Are you going to feel confident? Are you going to feel energized? Are you going to feel that you can take on this new, adventure, that you can play with your kids, that you can go on a hike, that you can travel, that you can enjoy life with the freedom of movement, and that you can do that, right? That's number one, is can you value yourself? Because I think the problem is when people are saying no, or I can't do this, or whatever, it's just that they don't have health as a value, or they don't have themselves as a value. And so we got to look at, well, what do we need to do to shift that? Because you are the most important person in your life, right? So how are we going to make sure that you honor that and take care of you? Honor it and take care of you, right? Because we spend a lot of time taking care of everybody else, but we forget to take care of ourselves. And we can't take care of anybody else unless we're taking care of ourselves. So making that a priority, committing to you, right? So that's what I tell someone, you know what? Let's commit to you. Let's take care of you. And it's going to be scary. It's going to be fearful. And you might not want to know what to do. But number one, know that you deserve the best. And know that you deserve to feel great. And know that you are 100% in control of that. So just make the decision to value yourself and to value your health.
I love that you brought that up, because I think you're so right in that we forget sometimes to put ourselves as a value. Especially if we have kids, if we have, maybe aging parents that we're taking care of. But when you forget to value yourself, you're not finding time, energy, or resources to do that.
Yeah, and it's hard. We have a friend. It was a family friend that recently, their brother just passed away. And the brother went to school with my husband. So I'm 43, he's 44. so 44-year-old aroundish, one of those, 45 maybe, just passed away, which is tough, and and I called my friend and I said, how are you doing, and how can I support you? And it's hard, and she's taking care of her mom and too, that, because her mom's lost 2 kids, and, it's tough. And I said, you're going to hurt right now. Like, definitely, like, cry, feel, do all those emotions. But also what I have found that's helped me during difficult times is some kind of routine to also take care of myself, so that I can be there for my mom or for everybody else that's hurting, right? So I'm like, maybe you just need to go out for a walk and just breathe and reflect. Make sure you're drinking water. Like, when those times when life is so overwhelming that you can't even think and you can't even feel, you have to be able to control what you can control. And to give you energy, or to give you the strength to get through that struggle, to get through that pain, right? And we can't control our emotions. A lot of times it's going to come and go. We have to ride with them, but we can control if we decide to go for a walk. We can control if we're like, I'm just going to work out for 10 minutes. I'm going to swim, or, we can't control that. We can control how much water we're drinking that day, or we can't control, like, I'm going to eat a healthy fruit just to give me some energy, right? So I think moving and nutrition are 2 things that we can kind of keep the structure with a little bit to help us through all those tough times that we're having. Sleep is another one, but sometimes sleep's hard to control, especially if, like, you're going through a hard emotional time or overwhelmed. You're up at night, you're stressing about it, you're thinking about it, and you can try and meditate, and you can try and breathe, and you can try and do those things. But a lot of times there's times I've just, like, tossed around and I'm like, I can't sleep, but so I don't have a lot of control over that sometimes. But like I said, you can with movement, and you can with, like, water and nutrition. So those are the 2 things that I try and keep consistent when I'm going through hard times, especially right now.
Yeah. No, I love that you said that too, because it's almost like you give us permission to be human through this process.
Oh yeah, this process is tough, especially with homeschooling kids and everything. If you're doing that, like, whew, I turned into a different creature that I didn't know.
Speaking of that personal growth mindset, right?
Yeah. That's what I said. I mean, I'm an educator. I was telling Todd interviewed me. I'm like, I'm an educator. I've taught for 10 years. I have my master's in education. But, like, homeschooling my 7-year-old daughter, I was not prepared for that. Like, no, that was frustrating. Like, I yelled more than I've ever yelled. Like, I'm not proud of how I was mom teacher during that time, because it was so frustrating. We were all in survival zone. It was all new to us, right? So figuring out, how do I do this? And it gets so overwhelming, and you're so full of fear, and there's so much uncertainty that it just, but now at least we're a little bit more prepared. We going forward, who knows? We still uncertainty to what's going on, but at least we know that we can get through it a little bit better with certain tools, right? So figure out what worked for you, and what didn't work for you.
Well, I think that's like what you said too, right? Nutrition and movement are the pieces that we can control. And even through these uncertain times, I think sometimes it's nice to know that there are things that we can count on, and there's things that we can control, and there's choices we can make within a bunch of uncertainty. It's grounding, actually. I mean,
Right.
It feels overwhelming, but it's actually really grounding.
Yeah, and that's what athletes do, like professionals or college or whatever. They have a routine, right? I'm sure you have your routine before you go on to compete in your triathlons and your Ironmans. It's like, okay, what do you want to do to get your mind right? So, maybe you have some music that you listen to get you going, or maybe some kids, student athletes have rituals, like they have to tie your shoes a certain way, or they have to wear their gear a certain way, right? So that's a ritual or it's a routine that's trying to allow your nervous system to feel calm and confident that whatever the circumstances, whatever the craziness of the competition is, you're okay, right? So we just have to figure out in our life, what are those routines or rituals that we need to give us the confidence to handle those challenges that present themselves during the day. because there's going to be all kinds of different ones. The only thing you really have control over, kind of, is your morning and then your night, right? So that's why how you set yourself up at the beginning. I try and wake up before the whole family does, because once I do, it's, I try and wake up before and do my exercise there. Or we have a puppy now, so I'll go for a walk too, and that's when I'll like think and do gratitude and maybe write a little bit, maybe read a little bit before everyone gets up. Because once everyone gets up, then we're like, especially now, we're all together, figuring it out. And then at night before I go to bed, like, I pray or I'll read something. Or think about my day and think about like what went well, what did I do well, and what can I improve for tomorrow, so that I can bookend my day with something that I can control. Just try and figure out those things.
No, I love that. I had somebody actually explain to me, just especially through a pandemic, it's like, if you're in the forest and you see a bear, okay, how Canadian am I? I know, but it's that your nervous system goes crazy. It's fight or flight. And so you need to sprint to get out of there to get away from the bear. But what's happened with COVID and the pandemic, we all went up to fight the bear. The bear kind of went away, but it hasn't totally gone away because we're facing so much uncertainty. So our nervous system isn't back down to baseline yet. It's sitting up a little higher. No, it's not up here anymore, but it's sitting down a little bit higher than normal, which is why, we're yelling a little bit more. It's why we're a little less patient than we usually are. It's why finding new routines are even harder, because we're fighting that unknown that's already there. So I love that you said that you bookend the days, because it's like now you're taking control of those pieces that you can and trying to bring that nervous system down every day as low as you can to start that day and end that day in a good way.
Yeah. And with stress, it's called the general adaptation syndrome. So the first stage is that alarm. So we're like, COVID, are we going to eat? Like, there's no toilet paper. There's no paper towels. Like, where everyone, there's no baking things. My daughter wanted to bake a cake, and we went to Target here, and there's nothing to bake. I'm like, is everyone baking? Like, during this time? Like, what? Right? So you go into that stress. We're all in the house together. Every one of us is in the house together. Like, I need my space, right? So you're just like, that's the alarm stage, right? So that's the beginning. And then there's the resistance where, fight stress, right? And you can fight it for so long. And then you go into the exhaustion stage where you're just, I'm over it. I'm tired, I'm fatigued, and I can't do anything. And so most of us, we're past the alarm stage, but we're in that resistance, or we've hit exhaustion, right? But then now the school year is coming up or different things, and we're still here. And so alarm's coming again. So it's just like you're totally fatigued because you're in one of those stages of trying to survive, right? So we have to be able to say, okay, how can we best prepare ourselves, body, mind, and spirit, for this stress that is being put onto us? How do I make my machine, which is my body, most effective to handle all of these things that I can't do? And it's our thinking, and it's in our moving. Right? And thinking and our moving. So being aware of, and our behaviors.
Totally. I love that. So the Developing Athlete is a podcast that you've got, and we'll make sure that the link for it is on the page when this interview goes out, because I think there's so much that you're bringing. I've listened to a couple of them, partly because I knew some of the people you interviewed, so I was super curious.
Yeah.
But for me, it's become a good reminder. Like sometimes, like even this morning, I had an early client, and I actually put one of your podcasts on because I needed that positive. I was a little tired. I was like, I don't want to be up so early. I've got so much to do today. And it was like, wow, my brain is already quickly going into that overwhelm. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, yep, Leslie's podcast is here. I'm just eaty beady mighty mo. I'm having that one. Whatever's on there is what I need to hear today. And it did. It totally shifted my brain, like totally shifted, put me in a much better place. So we'll make sure we have that available to the listeners
It's a 24/7 job keeping this brain healthy, right? So listen to powerful podcasts, listen to music. I try to minimize the news. I ask my husband, just tell me what happened in the news today. I don't go and look in the news. He's like, you need to be aware. I'm like, I don't need to be aware. You just tell me. Just tell me. And because, because you're doing that. Tony Robbins has a cool triangle that I like. It's physiology, it's your language, your vocabulary, and then it's your meaning, right? So those things go together. So if you're feeling funky, change your physiology, change your state, stand up, move around, dance, like do whatever, right? Just change your physical state, body language. And then vocabulary, change your language. Like, oh, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. Like, I'm going to try to do this. Like, no, do it, right? The other day I was going to go for a run and it was hot and I didn't want to do it. And I told everyone in the house, I'm going to go try and go for a run. My daughter called me out. She said, try, you know how to run, just go for a run. Like, right, change my language, right? And then the meaning, like what we associate it with that. Like, so like, COVID's here again, it sucks. They're like, okay, COVID's here, it's an opportunity for me to grow. Like, what can I learn, right? So changing one of those things, our language, our physiology, or the meaning behind it really helps to create a shift in your life.
I love that. Totally love that. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I got a lot out of it personally. I hope everybody else did too. But yeah, we'll have Leslie's contact information. So if you want to follow up, listen to her podcast or reach out or any questions, like she said, coaches are crucial. That's a reason why Olympic athletes have them. It's not because they don't know what to do. It's not because they don't have mindset work. It's because we all need that little bit of, I can only see as far as I can see. Sometimes I need someone to come alongside me and just help guide me to that next step, because sometimes it's hard to see when you're in the middle of it. And Absolutely. She's an amazing coach. She's an amazing human being. She's definitely an asset, that's for sure. So thank you. I so appreciate you today.
Thank you. I appreciate you, and I love all that you're doing for your community. The world needs you, so just keep stepping up, keep showing up, and just keep being you. Proud of you.
Thanks, Les.